Alright guys, so what we're going to do today is we're going to learn a little bit more about constraints. We learned this in class today, and I'm going to play a little bit with picking up an object and putting down an object. So I have the ultimate Moni rig here. You can see I have it set up to where right now there's no constraint attached to this character whatsoever. I've gone ahead and selected the arrows and switched my IKFK off. And you can see this ball currently has no constraints to it whatsoever. I'm going to go ahead and freeze the transformations in that ball. This allows me to just kind of have a good starting point to start with as we go. I've locked down some geometry on its own layer, so I do not want to keyframe that. I will want to keyframe the ball when we get there. But let's go ahead and figure out how we would constrain this. So as we learned it today in class, if we go ahead and highlight the hand shape and then shift select the ball, we can do a parent constraint on that item. Basically what this means is now wherever one goes, the other will follow. So a lot of you have kind of played around with this in class, and you can see that the ball is now attached. So that's kind of a good thing, because especially when we start to go through and select, and actually let's turn geometry off here, select areas such as keyframing the whole item, and I'm not going to worry too much about timing and spacing here. I'm going to just move this ball, and we pick up the ball. You can see now it sticks with it. Now obviously I'm going to have my graph editor open here, and we're going to go ahead and turn off linear keyframes there. This way we can see the in-betweens. So not too bad. The arm is cycling as we have it, but let's say we want the ball to, and again I'm not worrying too much about poses here, this is just to show you how to take this out. Let's say we want to move this keyframe forward more, and as we move it forward, let's dump the ball. You can see this doesn't really work out to our liking. So essentially we pick up the ball, go to dump it, and it's still stuck on our hand. We don't want that. Well, there is a way using constraints in which we can adjust this. So when we created the constraints, a few things happened. When you create constraints, Maya actually gives you switches to play around with a little bit. So when we do keyframe certain items, you can see we have a blend switch on Maya here available now on the sphere. So if I keyframe that ball, right now it's set to 0. If I set it to 1, currently it will keep intact the constraint. So essentially I could set this to 1 and set another keyframe on frame 11, let's say, and then maybe on frame 12 we can set it to 0, and again we got to be careful, but we can kind of put it back into place, and now the ball can start dropping. So if I want to maybe pull the ball down this way, whatever it may be. And right now again I do not have my my constraints on in the sense, or excuse me, my in-betweens on, so it looks kind of weird on that ball. To do that, again, let's turn on the graph editor real quick, and we'll highlight the sphere, highlight all the keyframes. We'll make sure we take off the step tangents that we set it to. And now it picks up the ball, drops the ball, picks up the ball, drops the ball. Now this hand, with it set at 0, is no longer attached to the ball. We're getting some movement here. You can see that's because my blend, I forgot to reset it here to 0. So again, I want to make sure it is set to 0. And there we go. And to do that, I'm going to adjust the drop of the ball. Takes it, boom, falls. And again, you can copy and paste these attributes if need be. You can also do the old slide trick and hit S on your keyboard. So it comes up, and then you can worry about the drop. So that's a good way to kind of deal with our in-betweens as we go. So that's the kind of down and dirty method when it comes to constraints. You can indeed turn them on and off. And so you can see here, we pick up the ball, we drop the ball, and they're no longer attached. If we've done it right, they're no longer attached to the actual hand. And there you go. You can see the ball is no longer a member until I go ahead and grab the constrained object and I set it back to 1 at any point. Now, just like with anything, there is some minor graph editor playing to do. You can see with the blend parent, I do have a drop off here. I do not want eases, so I'm going to make this extremely linear because I do not want any sort of eases on this. I want it to be a direct fall off, and that will kind of remove some of that jiggle that you may have with it. So hopefully that helps. You can do this with all sorts of things. It doesn't really matter on what you grab first. It just depends on what your actual blend parent can be. So if I grab the ball and then I grab the hand control, my blend parent would just be under here. That's a good, easy way to turn it on and off. Hopefully this helps you, and look forward to seeing the results.